Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Mobileye GT World Challenge Europe Esports Championship final round here from the beautiful Monza circuit in Italy. Tonight, a champion will be crowned, and talking you through all of the drama, twists, turns, and excitement will be myself, as always, Paul Jeffrey, and the one, the only, Mr. David Christie.
A very good evening, Paul. Coming in right at the end here. So excited for tonight, but I mean, everything has led up to tonight, hasn't it? Last time out at Hungaroring, what an absolute mess. I'm just so scared for tonight. However, I've got full faith in these fields of professionals.
Yeah, absolutely. It started on the 6th of April at Misano, and these drivers that you're seeing on your screen now have provided so many thrills and spills over the course of the season. We've got big names like James Baldwin, we've got Nils Naujoks of BMW Team BS Competition as well. We've got so many drivers at such a high level for such a long time in the world of virtual sim racing, in both the pro and the silver categories. Absolutely anything could happen at all.
And it usually does, doesn't it? I mean, we've seen enough through the entire season, starting, as you said, at Misano, all the way through Zandvoort, Nürburgring, and then Hungaroring. You know, we think that we know exactly what is going to happen here as commentators, and yet every single round this season, there has always been a surprise. For me, like last round, the fact that Darren McCormack didn't get any points at all from that last round is absolutely unreal. It's just a scary, scary thing. But you look at every single one of these drivers in this entry list, and both me and you, Paul, we've seen them numerous times before in many different championships, and you're like, throw a dart at a dartboard and any one of those names could win tonight.
Oh yeah, we've seen that so many times this year as well, haven't you? Like you said, Darren McCormack, our championship leader, no score last time out. We've had surprises, we've had new names coming into the sport are really showing their absolute skills out on the racetrack. And it's Monza, David, where we've seen it so many times as well. Such a high-speed track, so many hard braking zones, tight corners. It's ripe for an upset, this circuit, isn't it?
Yeah, Prima Variante down at turn one. That is probably going to get my heart absolutely racing tonight. I'm going to be so scared. And yet every time we say that, and how often do we see it, and they actually all manage to survive turn one. So I've got no doubt that we are going to see a fair few incidents tonight and a fair helping of drama and chaos. But I think for all that I hope essentially is that the winner that we get tonight and the champion that we get crowned tonight is worthy, and I think that's exactly what we've seen through the season so far.
Yep, absolutely. So let's have a look at those championship standings coming into this final race. There are two series, Pro and Silver. The Silver standings on your screen now. Dominic Blyer for Triton Racing has been the runaway driver in that championship. Blyer having an almost perfect season so far, but Robert Stapleford will be keen to put pay to that charge. Second on 109 points, plays 133. And all the way through the field, we've seen so many really talented drivers. Kieran Pendergrass in third position, a privateer running the Honda, no works team behind him, running for himself, and is still very much in the conversation. In the pro standings, Darren McCormack is our championship leader from James Baldwin. Very little separated those two drivers, with Tobias Gronewold and David Tanitsa disappointed down in fourth position. Will be hoping to try and uplift his chances over the course of the weekend. And Nils Naujoks, of course, is a name that you can never discount, although with the points deficit between himself and the top of the field, it's very much a case of trying to recover as much as possible. And looking all the way through this field, and we talked about it already at the top of the show, David, but there are so many opportunities for drivers to score big or have a no score, and that can make such a tremendous difference, can't it, to your overall championship charge?
It 100% can, and it always leaves you in either a really good place at the final round where you're like, right, I've had a brilliant season, I've done everything I could have, or you're left with that horrible gut feeling of shoulda, woulda, coulda, should have done something more, could have done something more, and would have done something more. Looking at the silver standings, 2-horse race, Robbie Stapleford, there's a slim outside chance of getting something tonight, but that pro battle, that is scary how close that is. It's such a close point to the season. We've got one more race to go. It literally could be turned completely on its head tonight.
Yeah, it really could. Again, Darren McCormack did not score last time out. A no score today for any one of these top four drivers. Completely out of the running. So there's going to be a lot of pressure and a lot to fight for these drivers over the course of the next 60 minutes here at Monza, and it's a little bit damp, as you can see on your screen, and rain always makes for a bit of an spicy exchange, doesn't it, David?
I believe the technical term, Paul, is mildly moist. Actually, no, it does, like, rather significantly more than mildly moist. But again, this is going to play havoc in terms of the setup, in terms of the way that the drivers and the cars have got themselves, going in towards this. And a little bit of intel, I was actually watching the BMW driver, Niels Noyaux, who was actually complaining on his stream about how the BMWs are going to be struggling at the moment with the setup that they've got.
I think everybody's going to be struggling, but let's have a quick look before we get into the race at what it takes to go quickly around this Monza circuit. It's the BMW Hot Lap. Let's have a quick look and see what Monza's all about.
Hi, I'm Bruno Spengler, BMW M-Works driver. I'm your track genius for today's race. Today I'm going to show you around one of the most historical tracks, Monza. Let's go. So in Monza, definitely the key is to drive as low downforce as possible, to have as less drag as possible. You drive a lot in straight line, so this is super important, which means your car is not going to be great on the brakes, not going to be great in change of direction. Now the next chicane is very interesting because it's all about having the right entry speed to be able to do just a little lift for the right-hander. So here I'm going to place my car well, have a small lift for the right-hander and very early flat to have actually a very nice exit. That's super important. Lesmo 1, late apex, trail brake, early on the power you can exit pretty wide here on the carpet. Lesmo 2, pick up the power before the curb, exit wide. This was slightly too wide, but still okay. Now we have the Ascari chicane where you can take a lot of curbs. So brake, 100-meter mark, third gear, a lot of curb here on the left to place well, to be able to be flat for this last left-hander, to carry all the momentum to the straight. And here we come to the last corner, the Parabolica. 2 downshift, long trail brake, stick to the inside and early power, because you want to carry all the momentum to the long straight. And this was a lap of Monza. So guys, I hope you're ready, because now it's your turn. See you next time.
There we have it, the final Track Genius Tour of the season. A massive thanks to Bruno Spengler and BMW for putting these incredibly informative little videos together to give us a bit of insight on what it takes to go quickly on the various circuits used within the Mobileye GT World Challenge Europe Esports Championship. And speaking of going quickly, these guys have just finished their qualification. So let's have a look at the starting grid for the race that is about to start. On pole position, we've got Kevin Ciclari in the Mercedes. Mercedes showing a great turn of pace this weekend. Alongside him is Tobias Gronvold for the Unicorns of Love Machine. Gronvold looking for a good weekend, third in the championship standings. Just behind them, the first of our championship protagonists, James Baldwin, second row of the grid in third position, just ahead of Dennis Schoninger in fourth place. Jordan Grant Smith having a very nice qualification indeed in the Porsche, fifth on the grid ahead of Andre Franke. And then Robbie Stapleford, one of our drivers that we spoke about that are fighting for the silver trophy, lines up in seventh position just ahead of Jordan Sherritt in position 8th. Niels Noyaux, that David said was complaining on his stream about the setup of the BMW, has done a good job in qualifying to get the car across the line as lead BMW in 9th position, ahead of Mike Noble in the first of the Honda NSX GT3 Evos. David Tinitzer, another one of our championship chargers, will line up a despondent 11th position on the grid. A lot of work to do there for the Ferrari driver, just ahead of Matteo Bonacorsi in position 12. And then we've got Martin Jonkers in the McLaren in 13th position. Nikita Vesneski in one of the Williams Esports BMWs is 14th on the grid. Kapanen in position 15th. Darren McCormack, championship leader, here's a turn up for the books, 16th position in the Bentley Continental GT3. 16th position with a championship lead to defend. It's going to be a big day's work for Darren McCormack from there. Dominic Blyer looking to wrap up the silver title in 17th. Up to camera is 18th on the grid. And then in position 19th, we have Biancollier just ahead of Fabien Pefet in position 20.
2 minutes, 19 cars, let's get this done then. 21st position is going to be Nick Hubin with Amir Hosseini in 22nd. 23rd and 24th is going to be the BMW of Luca Lozio alongside the Ferrari of Kamil Pavlovsky. On row 13 is going to be Eamon Murphy in the McLaren alongside Mikhail Baikov. 27th and 28th is going to be Leo Boulay and Gianfranco Gigoli in the Lamborghini as well. The Audi of Andrea Capoccia is in 29th position. Yigar Ogorodnikov in the Big Bad Bentley in number 41 in 30th position. 31st for Kieran Prendergast, going to be trying to make some moves up the grid down from in 31st position, with the Bentley of Valentin Barrier in the 72 machine down in 32nd place. 33rd and 34th is going to be Mateus Leitao, and then Ben Kriener in the HPD Jazz Pro Racing machine down there. 35th and 36th on row 18 on the grid, Mateus Tiskovic and Niels Klinkmuller. Row 19 is going to be Tinko van der Velde down there in 37th position. That is a really, really poor qualifying for him. And then in 38th is Sven Hettich, and at the back of the grid, all by himself in that Bentley, you can see there the number 21 on the left hand side is going to be David Pertil trying to cut their way through. A lot to be gained in these opening laps here. How hard do you think these cars are going to be pushing?
39 cars, Monza and rain. Wise money is stay as far away from trouble as you possibly can. This, David, we've seen it so many times, they're so competitive, these drivers, but in these conditions on this track as a championship finale with everything to play for, it's going to be critical, isn't it? Just to keep out of the danger zone. Don't get your own or somebody else's accident, and just play the long game. 60 minutes is a long time in these conditions. He who makes the least mistakes will be the one that's celebrated at the end of today.
I think for me in qualifying as well, Paul, the biggest plot twist right now is that silver battle right now. Robbie Stapleford, P1 in the silver class, P7 overall, and then you look at the title contender, the title holder right now, or sorry, the championship leader, Dominic Blyer, in that number 10, down in 17th position. 10 cars between him and Robbie Stapleford. For me, that's 10 opportunities for that to go horribly, horribly wrong. Robbie Stapleford in a very good position right now.
And I think really interesting, actually, is our two respective championship leaders. So Darren McCormack in Pro, Dominic Blyer in Silver, 16th and 17th on the grid. Mired very firmly in what one would safely consider to be the danger zone. So our two championship leaders have basically gone out of their way to make life incredibly difficult for themselves. The fortunate thing for Blyer, he's got a bit of a comfort zone over Robert Stapleford in terms of points. Darren McCormack, he's got 5 points over James Baldwin, so he can't afford to sit around for too long at all, can he?
No, absolutely not. 24 points separating Dominic Blyer and Robbie Stapleford right now, and as you said, just the 5 points between McCormack and Baldwin. And we both know how fast Baldwin can be. Of course, he'll be absolutely buoyant and resurgent after that real life debut at the Spa 24 Hours this weekend, and you know, he is just going to be brimming with confidence right now, and I can imagine that he'd be kind of bouncing about to get on with tonight.
And that's the thing, isn't it? He's just done the Spa 24 Hours. Yes, his real life racing is so much more enjoyable than sim racing. Of course it is, because you're in a real racing car. And it's almost like, will he be a little bit kind of less interested in the task at hand, having just done that one? But he's a racing driver and there's a championship on the line. So no matter what, it could be matchbox cars on the veranda at school. If there's a championship to fight for, every one of these drivers will give it their absolute everything, won't they?
They really will, and I was watching bits of it, but obviously the SRO Esports night race, or the Esports night taking place at Spa as well, absolutely dominant performance from him there, so showing that he still definitely has just as much love for the sim racing as he does for his real life stuff. And I've got to be honest, I'm massively jealous the fact that he can live both dreams at the same time. It's a fantastic story, and all we saw on Twitter and social media was the inspiration that and the praise that was being heaped on him, and the love from everybody that kind of sees this stuff and has their childhood dream of going out and racing, and that's exactly what he's doing out there. However, again, third place, it's still a reasonable result for qualifying, but there's so many fast drivers out there that could put paid to those plans tonight.
Yeah, there's a big danger zone for these first couple of laps. It's definitely be a case of staying out of trouble, not getting wrapped up in anybody else's problem. Now, everybody at home, if there's any of you that are new to the world of SRO Esports, first and foremost, a huge welcome. Great to have you on board with us. A bit of housekeeping just to give you an idea of how these things work. 60-minute race, mandatory pit window. Drivers must come down pit lane. They must insert a minimum of 1 litre of fuel within the car. If they wish, they can change tyres, but it's not mandated. In these weather conditions, it's going to be very interesting to see how alive those tyres stay over the course of a stint. It's a big stop in pit lane to change them, so we'll see if anybody tries to roll the dice as the event progresses. This weather does look fairly well set in, so one would expect we're going to have a wet race from start to finish, and Kevin Seclare in pole position is the man with the very best view of all coming down into T1. Nobody in front of him, no spray to contend with. Tobias Gronvold in second position to his outside, also has a clear line of sight at this stage as we go 2 by 2 for the rolling start. That is James Baldwin on board, looking to secure himself the championship if he can. The green flag waves for the final time in the SRO Esports Mobileye GT World Challenge Sprint Series. It is a great start for Seclare in the grunt and go Mercedes. Tobias Gronvold firmly into the slipstream for the rundown into the chicane on the opening lap. Gronvold to the outside. That's a good, safe overtaking opportunity if he can pull it off. Contact between the two of them, but they just about managed to make their way through the chicane. All the cars further back, squirreling through the runoff areas, trying to avoid a spin, a half spinner there we saw further down the running order. David, we predicted a chaos on T1, and I actually did not know where to look on that. There was plenty of chaos.
To be fair, that was actually incredibly mild. I'm very impressed, actually. But, however, we saw from Hungaroring, it wasn't turn 1, it was turns sort of 4, 5 and 6 where it all went a little bit further wrong. But Kevin Seclare down into that 12th position there.
What happened there?
He's going up, so it's the timing board is updating itself, so it's actually only about sort of 5th or 6th there. But Baldwin, I mean, what a job he did there. He was so lucky to hold on to Dennis Schoeninger there, because Schoeninger, I don't know if you saw that at the start, Schoeninger just wiped across to the right-hand side of the track and made aggressively sure that he was staying in that position. But Baldwin already up into P2, and I wonder if that was contact further down, as that's going to be up the inside there, and he loses the position. So Baldwin already down into 3rd position, and Schoeninger up into 2nd.
Yeah, Schoeninger's got his gander up for this one, certainly showing plenty of aggression. I must admit, I missed what happened to Seclare. I thought they'd made it through that first section, but apparently not, as Jordan Sherritt now is the next man on the line to try and find a way past our championship challenger, James Baldwin. Baldwin covers the inside line as we come to the parabolica for the very first time. So Baldwin now, will he be able to get a clean enough run through in the McLaren 720S as opposed to the Lamborghini? Not necessarily a car we've seen that far up the running order is the Lamborghini over the course of this season, but he's doing well in the hands of Jordan Sherritt so far. And Sherritt, David, will be well aware that Baldwin's got a championship to win, so Sherritt can afford to be a bit more aggressive, I think, and kind of bank on the fact that Baldwin can't really afford to hang it out for too many corners for fear of being shunted off the circuit.
Oh, that's absolutely right. It's the bigger picture comes into play, and it's where you've got to be thinking of about 4 things at once as a poor innocent clone has flown about 20 feet into the air across the track there. But yeah, look, you're right. Baldwin knows that he has to get a good finish here, but emphasis on the finish rather than the good part of it. He'll be doing as little as he needs to do and keeping himself as safe as possible, because with these tricky, wet, treacherous conditions here, anything can happen, and he wants to be as far away from anything happening as he possibly can.
And there we go, David, at the back of the shot, Jordan Sherritt has got the deal done, so Baldwin now down into 4th position. We're looking at Dennis Schoeninger, but let's have another look down the running order. Where are our other championship protagonists? Dominic Blyer has dropped to 3rd position in the silver class, 13th place overall, and then we have to go all the way down the running order. Where is Darren McCormack in the running order? Outside of the top 23. Looking at the timing tower at the side of your screen, and David Tanitsa getting very aggressive with Jordan Grant Smith. Both cars come together very hard indeed. Grant Smith off, left, right and centre. Can he get the car back on? Yes he can. There it is, the Porsche at the front, but Tinitza and Jordan Grant Smith need to calm things down a little bit, or the stewards may well have something to say. And there is Darren McCormack, 30th position.
Yeah, that's a tragedy, and if you look there as well, you can see a group of what looks like 5 Bentleys as Tinitza has just got himself in front of ahead of Jordan Grant Smith there. So Jordan, I mean, fresh from his victory at Hungaroring, seems to be kind of in the mid pack with this weather here. But those Bentleys, I'm going to be honest right now, the fact you've got 5 of them between 25th and 30th. I think that's a good sign that they're not going to have the best of nights tonight.
Yeah, that's an absolute nightmare for Darren McCormack to be all the way down in 30th place. Of course, nowhere near the points-paying position. So this will be in. Kamil Pawlowski also having a bit of an issue that I'm hearing in his ears in area. 20th position that he's dropped down to now as the works Ferrari driver. So not a good start for either of the 2 Ferraris actually. Tinitza that we saw getting into strife and contact with Jordan Grant Smith, and Kamil Pawlowski suffering in these very difficult conditions. And oh dear, hello, let's engage a little bit of idiot mode, and that's exactly what's happened there. I'm not quite sure how I can reasonably explain what happened without saying a few people left their brain at home there, David.
Please tell me that wasn't Ogorodnikov. Please tell me that wasn't the 41. I did catch what actually happened just behind that there, and unfortunately, but if it was Ogorodnikov, I think what I saw was that he was fighting with another car side by side, as that's more contact. That's Kevin Siclari up in front, and that's when the G2. That's Robbie Stapleford that's gone off onto the infield there, facing the wrong way. So Robbie Stapleford, who was fighting for the Silver Championship, Paul, that is potentially huge.
Yeah, massive dramas. Victor Barrier there and the Fabien Pefay that we're looking at quickly. But Kevin Siclari, pole position, all the way down to almost the lower reach of the top 10. And then the second bit of contact in the space of the first 6 minutes. Siclari holding on to 6th position at this moment in time, just about following through one of the Honda cars. Is that Mike Noble that we can see in front of him? But Robbie Stapleford, what a disaster, falling down the live timing screens at this moment in time, and I fear Robbie Stapleford may well have a mountain to climb now.
Oh yeah, that is absolutely almost game over for Robbie Stapleford, given the amount of effort needed to do in 53 minutes here. It looked like that was a dive up the inside from Kevin Siclari that ended up with contact into the side of the BMW. Just briefly going back to the incident with Igor Ogorodnikov, I believe that he was fighting side by side with another car. He got bounced out onto the grass there, couldn't get it as soon as he touched the brakes, and then it went straight into the wall there. So yeah, that was horrible stuff, and my heart is a little bit worried right now. This is they look like they've calmed themselves down, but again, it only took 3 laps for the chaos to ensue.
Yeah, there we go, some more contact coming to the chicane. Not 1, not 2, but 3 cars taking to the escape road. Everybody just needs to calm down a little bit now. Difficult conditions, fairly long race, nothing can be won at this stage of the event, but everything can be thrown away, and it seems like there's a little bit too much aggression. Everybody's using the aggression that they've saved over the course of the season. A 5-round championship all comes down to this, and a few hearts are going to be broken. Mateusz Tiskovic has got the little P icon next to his name. That means he's down pit road, so day is done for Tiskovic further down the running order. But let's take a moment to compose ourselves a little bit and work out who's where and who's winning and who's losing from these opening encounters.
Yeah, one of the things that we get is the fact that we get the luxury of watching this race develop from like these wonderful camera angles provided by Mike Yao. But again, if we were to jump on board with one of the drivers, we would get an idea just how difficult this is. I mean, it's difficult enough pack racing with these things at the best of times, right? Your reaction time is less than a fraction of a second right now. So you're trying to be aggressive, you're trying to make the best moves that you possibly can. And look, Paul, you know me, you know I love going in and having a go at the drivers when they do stupid things. But this is just like, I couldn't even think about doing this right now. To be vaguely competitive or try to be vaguely competitive in these conditions, there's just not a chance for me.
Yeah, I think everybody just needs to drive a little bit more to the conditions that are presented in front of them. So we've seen a lot of aggression throughout the field at this moment in time. And as I say, that's only going to end in tears. But Dominic Blyer's having himself a nice time. 11th place on track at this moment in time. He's our championship leader, of course, but he's currently second in the silver class. Perfectly for Dominic Blyer, the man ahead, Bonacorsi, he's not in the championship fight. So it's been an incredibly good opening 10 minutes for Dominic Blyer for Triton Racing in the Bentley. 11th overall, second in class, and his main championship rival, Robbie Stapleford, all the way down in 20th.
Yeah, but Stapleford about a lap ago was down in 25th position, so he's making his way back through because other people are fighting as well. It's been an exemplary opening 10 minutes, as you said there, though, for Dominic Blyer. Remember, he started P5 in class, in that silver class, so he's already up to P2, and he's as good as got one hand on that title right now. Robbie Stapleford needed to win and needed for Blyer to have an absolute howler, because remember, that gap was something like 24 points up to there, so Blyer had to be almost out of the running for Stapleford to have any mathematical chance, and as it stands right now, it's just not happening.
And to be fair, the lowest point score, the lowest points haul Dominic Blyer has had this season was last time out, 29 points. So the man knows how to score huge points over the course of a race weekend, and very rarely do we see any kind of mistakes. Luca Lozio in the Mobileye car that we're looking now, that's the purple machine to the inside of T1. Can Lozio get it done on the brakes? Would he decide to back out? Would be the wise move at this stage, but no, he goes for the Fordzilla car as well, 2 for the price of 1. Luca Lozio, slight contact with the Fordzilla machine ahead, but luckily everybody survived through that one. But Luca Lozio takes the position, moves himself up in a 17th place, and while we're talking about championship challengers, championship leaders, Darren McCormack has now worked his way up into 23rd position, so making forward progress, but still a long way away from where he needs to be.
Oh, that's going to be a dive up the inside for Luca Lozio onto Fabian Piffet and gets moved on. I think the word there is forceful. That was escorted into that position there. Look, great spot though on Darren McCormack there, because remember, we checked in with him about sort of 10 minutes ago, and what was he was down in 30th position, and there's Robbie Stapleford forcing his way past up into 19th position as well. So poor, I think that might have been, was that Amir Hosseini that got gentlemanly escorted out of that position as well. But yeah, Darren McCormack making their way up, and here comes Robbie Stapleford as well now. So yeah, this fight is definitely brewing very, very nicely, and I think now the drivers starting to get used to these conditions and how far exactly they can push.
And we know full well, in real and virtual terms, when the rain's falling as heavily as this and the field is so congested, it's so easy to make a mistake. So you might feel comfortable at this moment in time, but one misstep and it can all go very wrong indeed. Kamil Pawlowski now to the outside on the rundown in a parabolic. It gets the overlap, gets the job done on the car ahead. That is saying that he finds his way past. So Kamil Pawlowski up in a 17th position for the Scuderia Ferrari Velas Esports team, but still not having the kind of day that Pawlowski would have expected to have had coming into the home of Italian motor racing, that is Monza, and teammate David Tanitsa. Let's have a quick look up the timing tower to find Tanitsa. He's currently running in 8th position, so quite solid there from Tanitsa, but again, nowhere near where he needs to be for a championship charge.
Oh, and that's clumsy from Stapleford, just crawling all over the inside of that first chicane there, trying desperately to get past Amir Hosseini, but it's not going to be, because Kamil Pawlowski getting past in that Ferrari several corners ago. We're on board now with Alter Camera for the BS Plus competition. This is going to be down into the second chicane, late on the brakes, completely misses the braking point. And I've got to be honest, I think at this point, Paul, we need to start asking chat for some donations of pillows and sleeping bags for our poor stewards, because they're going to be sleeping on the job tonight.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you take into account the difficult weather conditions, of course, so maybe there's an element more leniency than we would get in perfectly dry conditions, but there are several drivers skirted very, very close to having a virtual slab on the wrist, and Arta Camera with that move. The BMW's good in a straight line, Feels like it's strong on braking as well, so Camera will be desperate to make his way past. And here we go again, too wide now. Wisniewski on the outside, Camera to the inside. Last of the late breakers held the car there far too long to the inside. No real overlap, and that is the reward for Artie Camera. Spinning it around. Got to take forever and a day to get the car back on the racetrack in some clear air. And Artie Camera a little bit too optimistic there, David, for a little bit too long, and sadly that's the price to pay.
Yeah, it's a bit of a bigger problem for me with this, and I'm seeing it time and time again. It's becoming a bit of a bugbear. As off in the background, that might have been Andre Frank in the Honda Academy, and he's done. He's just given up because of the. I can imagine he's going to feel a little bit annoyed at that one. Look, that's another example of it. We're seeing this where drivers are sending it down the inside and they're almost using Paul. And again, this is just my unqualified opinion here. They're using the other cars like railings to kind of drive, to either use as a brake or to just sort of help them get round the corner. You can't do that. It's not at any level, especially at this level where they're supposed to be, acting like kind of bastions for the sport.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and I think as well we are to camera one as we see Robbie Stapleford just recovering from another off-track moment. So Stapleford having a difficult time, 17th position at this moment in time, just ahead of Fabien Perfet that we can see behind. We saw the Fordzilla machine in a bit of drama a couple of laps ago, so Stapleford needs to recover his composure again, get some dirt off the tyres, get the grip back in to those Pirelli wets and start that charge all over again. But yeah, I agree with you, David, going back to your point. I think with the camera one, that was more kind of a speculative, leaving the nose at the inside and hoping something would happen. But we all know there's two kinds of overtake. There's one that you get it done and dusted, or you have to accept it's not going to happen, give up and slot back in position. And Canberra was a little bit hesitant there, I think, which cost him quite badly at this stage. But Mike Noble, this is a man that's having a good race in the Honda. So Mike Noble having a very, very solid race so far. 6th position overall, and seemingly has got the making of Nils Naujok's ahead as well.
Yeah, but for me, Mike Noble's always I struggle watching him because my heart is just so broken at the fact that he doesn't drive the Nissan GTR anymore. It's like, any time you saw Mike Noble, there was always the Nissan logo beside his name in this game. But that car certainly has been put to bed. But look, what a drive he's had so far. In fact, I would say, looking at the standings, this is probably one of his best performances so far in the championship. And he's a driver that reminds me of David Tinitza in the sense that I don't know what he's done in a past life, but he does not have any luck. If there's an accident, it's going to find him like a chat's talking about Mario Kart right now, like a blue shell. If there's something bad going to happen, it's going to find either David Tinitza or Mike Noble.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. But if ever there was a time to change that around and turn luck into your favour and lay a marker down for future, then the last race of the season is the one that you want to do it on. This is the race where you will use all the momentum that you get from this one and take it forward into the following year. So Noble having a good run. Let's have a look here. Incident involving cars 105 and 38 on lap 1. A drive-through penalty has been applied to car number 38. I'm looking down my list to see who car number 38 is, and that is Ben Craner in 27th position. So Craner will be coming and visiting pit lane in the non-too-distant future.
Yeah, the HPD Pro Jazz driver. It's safe to say that team hasn't had the best of seasons so far. They've really kind of struggled to get any sort of traction outside that sort of top 20 or into the top 20 rather just now. And here's hoping that maybe they can kind of have a better season next time round. Jordan Grant Smith, though, shown another aspect of this track. It's difficult enough, using the track limits to their very utmost, but as soon as you touch those horrible things called curbs, you're in for a whale of a time. If you touch the smoother curbs on the inside, you're absolutely fine, but if you go anywhere near the raised curbs, like on the inside of on the first chicane and on Variante Ascari, it clips the car and you lose all traction, and 9 times out of 10, if you're beside another driver, you are going to hit into them, or if you're by yourself, there is a strong chance you can actually spin the car.
Yeah, it's definitely a case of pinpoint precision. Another drive-through penalty just been awarded on our screen there. Nikita Wisniewski in the number 3 machine, 12 on the track at this moment in time. But Wisniewski given a drive-through penalty for causing a collision, it seems like, on screen. So that is a big difficulty for Wisniewski. And by the way, a few drivers, while we've been talking, a few drivers have elected to jump down pit lane immediately at the very beginning of the pit window, serve their mandatory stop, get some fuel in the car, just 1 litre, remember, minimum fuel, and get back out on racetrack. And David, with weather like this and with the lack of visibility that comes with it, is pitting early a good call?
Again, it's context. If you're in a battle with someone very, very closely, as Luca Lozio tries to fire it up the inside there, potentially. If you're being held up by the car in front, then potentially get that out of the way and just hope you get out into a little bit of a faster pack of traffic. But there is also a lot to be said if you can kind of get into your groove and just keep putting the laps in. What you'll actually find is a lot of the top 15, if not the top 20, actually wait until the last possible moment to get that pit stop done. Yeah, and again, these are the massively intriguing aspects of strategy that come into play all the way through the course of this, the European Sprint Series and the American and Asian Sprint Series as well. When do you stop can have a massive impact on your overall race result. If you come out into traffic and they hold up the natural pace that you've got in your car, then that will really hurt you by the time we get to the checkered flag. You can see the pit stop window at the top of your screen is open for another 25 minutes and 12 seconds. So the pit stop window will be open for a little while longer yet. And as you say, David, it all depends, doesn't it? If you're involved in a battle, sometimes it is very, very wise just to get out of dodge, get out of the danger zone. You're losing time, you're increasing your chances of making contact with another car as well. Just avoid the necessity to be in that completely. That's absolutely spot on. I couldn't have said that better myself. I was slightly distracted as that was absolutely unneeded there from Eamon Murphy onto the tail end of that 21 of David Pertile there. That looked very, very sketchy from what I saw, because what I saw was a little bit of movement under braking. That might have been completely unintentional, because you know how much of a handful these things are under full acceleration. Under braking, they're very, very difficult to control, but it did look like Murphy clipped that Bentley onto the grass there, so very lucky that the two of them actually did survive that there. But going on to the point I was making there, was a little bit distracted, because how on earth is Darren McCormack into 13th position after all the way down in 30th right now? He's on the cusp of breaking into the top 10 already, and we've still got 38 minutes left to go. Yeah, it is a little bit artificial, McCormack's position at this moment in time, courtesy of a few drivers ahead of him having to jump down pit lane, but McCormack having a great drive, doing what he needs to do. And let's have a quick look now at the start once again and some of the drama that unfolded over the course of the first couple of corners. 39 cars, look at the visibilities we're riding on board. Absolute wall of spray ahead of our drivers. It is more luck than judgment. You're desperately trying to weave from one side to the other to find a little bit of visibility ahead of you, conscious of the cars that are around you. At the front of the field, there we see the black Mercedes under pressure. Tobias Gronewold looks to the outside, dangerous to go too wide into T1. There's an initial bit of contact there. Gronewold just about keeps the car on the straight and narrow. A secondary contact on corner exit, and there we see contact with a third car running onto the curb as well, losing the grip and the traction. So plenty of drama, and I'll actually be very honest, Kevin Seclari was very fortunate to get away like he did with that one, because there was at least 3 occasions, David, where he was very firmly throwing caution to the wind and absolutely at the mercy of the gods as to what would happen next. Yeah, but that luck will only run for so long in these conditions. That's the issue with it, as we see Mike Noble onto the back here of Niles Knox. There's another point as well, for someone who's complaining about the setup and not being particularly kind to the BMWs tonight. That's a great job from Niles and that BS Plus competition car up there in 5th position right now. It doesn't look like he's too slow in that car, but of course it could be, in context, it could be a case of that it's maybe just not as fast as he's used to it, and that could mean a whole lot of things to us mere normal folk.
And it's a great leveler, wet conditions as well, isn't it? It can mask many a disappointment in setup or car or balance of performance. These are survival races, events like this one. In a normal sprint race, it's going as quick as you possibly can, minimising time lost to the checkered flag. In these wet conditions, when it's as wet as this and the field is as stacked with talent as this series, it is all about avoiding problems, avoiding mistakes, keeping the car, balancing the car over the aquaplaning on the straights, in the difficult, tricky braking zones. Don't get involved in somebody else's have-a-go hero heroics. And those who can navigate through those dramas the best are the ones that have got the highest chance of having a good result at the end of it. And Tobias Gronewold doing great work at the front of the field, having none of those things to worry about, just stroking the car home.
Yeah, I feel a bit bad. We've not even mentioned the fact of Tobias Grunwald doing such a great job. I suppose the less attention, the better. However, when we did go back to that race start, we were actually on board with Dennis Schoeninger there, and you saw exactly what I was talking about, how he just dived over to the right-hand side there, as we see more confirmations there. It's a drive-through to car 4 on lap 1 there for causing a collision, and then that is Andrea Capoccia, and then cars 38 and 142, a drive through to car 38 for causing a collision on lap 1 as well. So that is that's Ben Kriener again, I think, unless so that's, there you go then. I mean, and that's just lap 1, and we're 25 minutes into the race.
Yeah, there's plenty, as you said earlier, David, there's plenty of work for our stewards to be doing, and no doubt there'll be a fair few protests lodged after this race as well. But Kevin Seclari, currently fastest man on the racetrack, down in 20th position, but he has served his pit stop. So Seclari is the leading runner of those that have been down pit lane. And again, anyone new to the series, the way to establish who has stopped and who hasn't is whether they've got a green or a yellow marker next to their name. So Seclari currently the fastest driver on track and the leader of those who have stopped. And let's have a look at a few replays, David, of some of the dramas that's unfolded over the course of the day so far. So we would go there again. Look at the lack of visibility. This is on the opening lap when the cars are all at their absolute closest. That's Luca Lozio, I think, and there we go, accordion effect, everybody kind of bunching up, and unfortunately for the McLaren, nothing that they could do. We didn't see these during the live pictures, but the accordion effect, everybody bunching up into the braking zone, a hungry pack of cars behind you, and unfortunately that's the kind of thing that happens on the 203. Heavy contact, spun round, and had to watch the entirety of the field pass by. And let's see from further down the running order, that is the Bentley being spun around. And David, it's impossible, isn't it, in those conditions? You cannot see what's happening, and all of a sudden you've got a wall of cars. It
is, and I was quite literally a way to praise Luca Lozio for the fact that he waited so long there. That's a huge contact into the barrier there. Waited so long for it to rejoin nice and safely, and in the end ended up accidentally taking out a BMW. But David Tinitza with a 5-second time penalty there in that 95. What was that I was saying about bad luck?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm afraid Tinitza now can realistically say goodbye to any kind of slim chances that he had at taking a fight for the championship this season. Tinitza sitting on 75 points versus the 93 of Darren McCormack, who's our championship leader. So always going to be a big task to get in with a shout at the championship, but certainly onto the podium of the overall finishing positions was possible heading into this race. But Tinitza has got a lot of work in front of him if he's going to do anything about those cars in front. And interestingly, we had an initial flurry, David, of cars jumping down pit road at the start of the pit window, but now things have settled down, and it looks like the majority of our front runners are going to hang this on right to the very death.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking, because, you know, if they get themselves into a rhythm, more cars are going to clear their way around them. They get a little bit of a chance to get some fresh air and think, right, I can just knock these laps out here, keep things going on, and then just pit as late as possible. The only issue is I think towards the last 10-15 minutes of the race, they're all going to bunch up again. But the conditions here are absolutely torrential, but it does seem like it's a consistent thing. It doesn't look like it's getting heavier, and it doesn't look like it's getting lighter. So if it does stay that way, the drivers kind of can then know what to expect.
David Giglioli So I'm just trying to read 3 different things, and I'm not intelligent enough to read 1, never mind 3. Gianfranco Gilioli has got a drive-through penalty for speeding in the pit lane, David, so that's why we see him disappear off our top 23 timing calendar. So a difficult day again for Gilioli, the Italian driver. He's another one that seems to have shaken the bad luck stick all over himself for the start of the season, and we see more drama than we do stellar drives, unfortunately, from Gilioli this season, but I'm sure he'll come back fighting next year if we see him again in SRO competition.
Yeah, for sure. It's just one of those things. It's you pay your money, you take your chances, and it is what it is. But
pit lane speeding penalties as well, David. How frustrating are those?
It's as someone who's done that many times. Listen, the fact that he's still here says volumes. Because for me, if I get that's it. Alt F4. Good night. I'm off to go and watch something else. But that's why I'm not an esports professional here, Paul.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, as you say, credit where credit's due to Gianfranco for continuing the charge. He's made his pit stop, actually, so he doesn't need to go down pit lane again. 32nd position on track, but he will probably move up the odd spot here and there as other drivers make their pit stop. But it's a lonely evening's racing for Gianfranco Gilioli as we're about to hit the halfway marker of this final race of the season. And at the front of the field, Tobias Gronvold currently is our race leader from 2 seconds from Dennis Schoninger in second position. Jordan Sherratt holding on to position 3 in the Lamborghini, so a good drive from Jordan Sherratt. Just ahead of one of our championship challengers, James Baldwin, in 4th from Nils Naujoks and Mike Noble, rounding out the top 6. And at this moment in time, Tobias Gronvold could well be our champion if things stay as they stand.
So many variables. I'm also watching this silver class as well because just a penalty here actually. A big melee involved in the 41, 17, 72, 4 and 227 on lap 2. It's a stop and go 10-second penalty for the 17. That's Leo Boulay, and Yep, that is exactly what it was. If you remember back when Igor Ogorodnikov was involved with that, I said that I'm sure I saw somebody bumping him onto the grass. He tried to brake and he couldn't do anything and caused knocked the cars out like Skittles. So it was that 17 that was involved in that second lap incident there. So again, great to see so many things getting dealt with. We've got so many incidents that the stewards are going through. I was just going to quickly point out though that a silver class battle as well, just noticing that Robbie Stapleford down in 23rd is the leading car in silvers right now that has taken a pit stop. Dominic Blyer up to 9th place, but all of them still have to pit right now. I think they'll still comfortably come out in front, but Stapleford in a good position because he's out in clear air right now.
That's exactly what you need in these conditions. Clear air, a clear windscreen in front of you so you can concentrate on the job in hand, and that is Robbie Stapleford in the BMW G2 Esports machine. But I'm hearing sweet nothings whisper into my ear that we've got another replay of some shenanigans that took place earlier in the running of this race. And this is the second lap incident that we've just been speaking about. I think that is the Honda, the number 38 machine of Ben Craner to the outside of Parabolica. A little bit of a nip on the front and then the back. Craner goes spinning around like a top, and so easy in these conditions. And this is the Leo Bohe incident. Robbie Stapleford incident, in fact. So Stapleford, innocent bystander on the brakes. Wow, David, wow, that is a misjudgment of how slow the car in front is going, of the highest order by the Mercedes behind Stapleford. Very much an innocent bystander in that one. And there we go, that's another bit of drama into the T1 chicane. Poor old Stapleford though, your heart's got to go out to him there, on David, because that was absolutely nothing he could have done about that.
Yeah, Kevin Siclari came in like a wrecking ball, and that's exactly what happened there. And we saw Niles Naujoks there in the BMW, and actually, while Naujoks did look like he came steaming in there, he actually got it stopped in time. It was the car on the outside that turned in, as we see Leo Boulay coming round. Oh my goodness me, that is so close on the back end of Ben Craner, who he was involved in earlier on. And there you go, confirmation. It's actually a drive-through penalty for Kevin Siclari for that instant with the 81, and that'll be for Robbie Stapleford. So I would say that is justice served.
Yeah, Absolutely. Stapleford, completely an innocent bystander, made all the more upsetting for Stapleford because he's a championship challenger as well. And speaking of which, let's have a quick look at the championship standings as they stand at this moment in time with 27 minutes and 14 seconds left on the clock. So at this moment in time, and don't forget, we've got 27 minutes left on the clock. So yeah, we've got plenty of racing left to do. So I've been told actually there's going to be championship standings, but I don't see them. Oh, here we go, championship standings. Hip hip hooray, hip hip hooray, I find them. Oh, Tobias Groenewold is potentially our champion on 111 points, 109 for James Baldwin in second place, and Darren McCormack, who went into this one as the championship leader, third place on 96 points. So just goes to show a poor qualifying, a bit of drama and contact, and Darren McCormack now is very much on the back foot. And down in the silver class, Dominic Blyer, surprising no one, is our provisional champion, 163 plays, 123 for Robbie Stapleford. But David, 26 minutes, 20 seconds left on the clock. I'd like to bet that's not going to stay like it to the end.
Yeah, I'm not even taking that with a pinch of salt, but I'm glad we got there in the end anyway. That's a good thing. As we see Leo Belay still hassling and hustling that Honda in front, gets a better run out the corner than Ben Kriener. They're going to be side by side, and Leo Belay is going to take this like candy from a baby. 27 minutes left to go. Ben's still got that penalty anyway, but he's still going to fight as hard as he possibly can. Also, that's a different one that he's got this time. So that is for contact with Igor Okoronikov. Listen, I tell you what, if there's one man in the field you're not wanting to get a penalty against, it's Igor Okoronikov.
Yeah, this definitely seems to be at the centre of a lot of the drama for other drivers. But I just want to go back to these championship standings a moment. You have never seen a face of a man more panicked than me when I looked where I expected to see them after I announced I was going to talk about them and realised they weren't there. Pad, quickly, while I desperately click around to find them. So thanks very much to Michael and the team for putting those bits of information up on the screen for us. So we'll keep our eye on that one. Kevin Seclare been down pit road, by the way, and served his penalty. So 24 from pole position to well outside the top 20. What a nightmare for Seclare this race has been.
Yeah, and how much of it has been his own kind of downfall with the incidents. But the man that's made the most out of this right now, Tobias Grunfeld for Team Unicorns of Love, Mercedes AMG, out there in front and in charge, 2 seconds to the good of Dennis Schoeninger. This is going to be a little bit scary now as well for Tobias, because starting to come across this lap traffic, and again this lap traffic is going to get faster and faster and faster as he works its way up. But you can see there, I'm pretty sure that looks to be some rather wicked looking branded merch that Tobias is wearing on his webcam there.
Oh, you've got to live the dream and do the whole thing, but this must be so worrying now. The race in it, contact between the two bike markers. Our race leader, Tobias Grunfeld, joins that. A bit of excitement as both cars, like the sea, part in front of him. But I was just about to say, as a leading car coming up to traffic in these conditions, it's such a scary experience because you are completely reliant on not getting wrapped up in that drama. Just as I was about to say it, drama unfolded, and that's very much exactly how quickly something like this can change, David. 4 or 5 metres further up the road, Tobias Grunfeld might try to be finding a gap in the traffic to get back on the track now.
Oh my goodness me, I tell you what, Ben Kriener might as well take some cupcakes into the steward's office tonight, because he is going to get absolutely spanked for that one. That was just locked up, under braking, straight into the back of the car in front, and yeah, that is... Whoa, you hate to see it, especially you hate to see it if you're the race leader, as you were pointing out there. Can you imagine what was going through Tobias Grunfeld's head with just watching all that unfold in front of him?
You're going to need some new merch, I'll tell you that one for nothing. But there's a drive-through penalty, by the way, for Kamil Pawlowski down in 20th position. So Pawlowski's day goes from really bad to absolutely horrendous. The Polish driver will have to serve that one within the next 3 laps to satisfy the requirement from the steward. So Pawlowski having a very difficult day. His teammate David Tinitzer, of course, has got 5 seconds to be added to his pit stop that he's yet to serve. 7 minutes 47 seconds left on the clock, by the way, on the pit stop window, and still are the entirety of the top 16 have yet to serve that stop. And Jordan Sherritt now getting a little bit interested in Dennis Schoeninger ahead. Schoeninger looking a little bit deep into the chicane, and that Mercedes doesn't look quite as comfortable as the Lamborghini at this stage in proceedings.
Yeah, Lamborghini seems to have had a kind of second wind right now. I wonder if it's maybe tyre usage or maybe just keeping the pressures proper on the car. Of course, they've got such a small window that they can operate in properly, especially in these wet conditions here. So that Lamborghini does seem to be getting a second wind here, catching right back up to Dennis Schoeninger. That's now, what, 8-9 of a second onto the back of second place. However, he might be able to catch up on him very, very quickly, but is he going to try and make a move at this stage, knowing that they both have to pit? I'd be a little bit sceptical about that.
Yeah, it's one of those ones that you've really got to make a judgment call at the time. How fast is your car? How comfortable are you in the conditions? And are you being held up by your rival? But I think you're absolutely right, David. The safe play at this stage is to do something slightly different, maybe on the pit stop strategy. Come in a lap earlier or a lap later, if possible, than your rival, and see if you can get the deal done down pit road. Nils Naujoks, by the way, is not gapping Mike Noble quite as easily as I expected him to do earlier in the race. Now, Naujoks, we saw in one of our replays making light contact with another car, so whether that BMW is carrying a little bit of damage and that's kind of hindering the ultimate lap pace of Naujoks, I'm not sure. So we'll find that one out, no doubt, after the race is done. But Naujoks having a quiet yet effective time of it so far in fifth.
Yep, just seeing there a warning between Sherritt and Baldwin, a warning to Jordan Sherritt for the incident on lap 3. We're on lap 20, and that's a warning for an incident that happened on lap 3. That is how much is going on, and yeah, you just hate to see it, don't you?
Yep, is so much drama happened so far, and so much drama, no doubt, has yet to unfold with 20 minutes left on the clock. And don't forget, this is the final race of the Mobileye GT World Challenge Europe Esports Championship. There is a pro and a silver championship to be decided at the conclusion of this race. So the next 20 minutes and 21 seconds are what our drivers have been working towards since the series kicked off at Misano on the 6th of April. Since then, we've visited Zandvoort, the Nürburgring and the Hungaro Ring. We have seen standout performances throughout the field, and every bit of blood, sweat and tears, testing, training, researching, working with your team, riding the luck when luck comes your way, comes down to this final 20 minutes of action. And at the end of today, we're going to have two brand new SRO European Esport Mobileye champions, and that is enough to focus the mind of these drivers that I don't know what is.
Yeah, and on top of that as well, no matter how things go tonight, given the season we've had, is whoever wins the championship poll going to be thoroughly well deserved. Yes. Very, very worthy winners. It's been an incredible championship. 5 brilliant rounds, including tonight, and I've got to admit I got a little bit distracted again by YouTube chat because apparently Peppers Ghost thinks one of us sounds like John Watson. I'm gonna pray that's me, because like that is my absolute idol. I want to be seen as the older, grumpy kind of commentary part of the duo. That's me right there.
Excellent stuff. So one of us will be offended and one of us won't, but we're not sure which, and that's the best way to have it. Keep us in suspense as we're looking at Dennis Schoeninger running down pit road. Mike Noble eventually pulls the trigger and jumps down pit lane. So does Dominic Blyer, so does Jordan Grant Smith. So with 3 minutes 43 left on the open pit window, 3 of our top 10 drivers have decided now is the opportune moment to get down pit road, serve the mandatory requirements, and no doubt, David, that's because they've been whispered in their ear by their engineers that there's a piece of clear racetrack that they can rejoin and get the hammer down again.
Yeah, and we mentioned that almost every time we talk about this level of racing, is the fact that it's not just the drivers that are driving the cars, it's the teamwork behind the scenes. Yep. It's the hours and hours that they put into the setup work, getting these cars prepared for these events. And, you know, not just with the Mobileye GT World Challenge Europe Esports Sprint Championship that we've got here, but they do like 8-9 championships a week here in the likes of Assetto Corsa Competizione.
And all of them at a very high level. I mean, a lot of these drivers that we're looking at today, they were physically at Spa-Francorchamps for the SRO Esports racing night at the Fanatec Arena. So a lot of these drivers have been travelling around Europe competing for big money on the big stage in championships, and then they've come back, regathered themselves, recalibrated what they need to do and achieve, got themselves back used to the rigs that they're racing in, and off they go again in this championship. And it's incredibly impressive, David, isn't it? And we've said this again many times, but it really does bear repeating. These are drivers at the absolute top level of their particular skill set. And David, over to you now, sir, 'cause it's some replay time.
Yeah, let's have a quick catch up then with what we've happened here. This is onto the back of what looks like one of the BMWs. That's the Williams Esports machine just in front. Then it's going to be a look up into the second chicane. Is it going to be too late on the brakes? There's going to be a curb involved here. Yep, there you go. That is what happened to Arthur Kammerer. We saw that probably about 15 minutes ago there. And again, I was heart and mouth as I saw that rejoin from Kammerer. He struggled so hard to get that car back on, but he did get going again. This was up the inside. Look a lot, Suo, that was up the inside there. And the Honda trying to get that position back there. Too eager to get onto the power. Spun the car right round like a record. And again, you can see some of the action that happened earlier on. This is, I believe, Ben Kriener late onto the brakes there. And that was into the back of the number 77. And we saw yet to see any sort of issue from the race control from that. Now, Jordan Sherritt into the lead of this race because Tobias Grunwald and Dennis Schillinger has been into the pits.
Yep, so again, it's just part of the open pit window at the moment. 56 seconds left remaining, so the drivers need to go and serve their wants. But the big news on here is Dennis Schillinger is now, in effect, our race leader, because after the pit stops, Tobias Grunwald has dropped to second position, and this has got huge complications for the championship.
My brain is melting trying to work this one out. What does this mean right now? Because obviously Baldwin right now, we need to see where he's going to come out in relation to this. But that is going to be absolutely unbelievable, because Grunwald was up against the wall, wasn't he, Paul? Because he had to win this race to even be in with a shout of this. But right now, Schillinger has absolutely broken those dreams into 1,000 different pieces.
Now, this is a big one. If you're Dennis Schillinger, do you not really care about anybody else and go for your own result? Or are you going to be thinking of the championship implications and possibly being a little bit easier on the 52 behind you, knowing that that driver has got to be a winner in order to take the championship? I suppose there's no requirement for him to do that one, but if you're Dennis Schillinger, what do you do about this one as we see James Baldwin jump down pit road and take his stop?
Well, firstly, obviously, we can see the pit stops, and Baldwin's already out, because, of course, he only had to take a litre of fuel. Whether he's going to get out in front, that is going to be, I don't think he is, but we'll certainly see. He gets going now. There goes Dennis Schillinger and Tobias Grunwald. So there we go, Baldwin back down to that third position here, but ultimately much closer, I think, than he was before. And that looks like that was deep from all of the cars there. So does that first chicane just not exist?
That's they're going for the old-fashioned Monza layout, but Tobias Grunwald, drive-through penalty. Tobias Grunwald has a drive-through penalty for an indiscretion on pit road. Goodbye championship in one fell swoop. Tobias Grunwald's day has turned to absolute disaster. Jordan Sherritt, the big winner in the pit stop cycle, runs to the front of the field. Dennis Schillinger no longer has the question of, am I more generous to the rival behind me or not? Because Tobias Grunwald has taken himself out of contention, and all of a sudden, wham bam, thank you ma'am, James Baldwin's thinking, think I'll fancy taking a championship at the end of the day, and he is in the pound seats to do exactly that.
Oh my God. Alexa, play sad trombone. That is the horrible outcome. I mean, obviously we wanted drama, we wanted excitement, but to lose the championship like that, and that's essentially what has just happened there, for a drive-through penalty, which has almost certainly been for track limits. I mean, oh my goodness me, I mean that hurts even more than, you know, race control awarding you a drive through for like a collision or something like that, to know that somehow, you know, you've done this yourself. And obviously I'm not implying that he has done this, but you know, we're terrible as human beings. We beat ourselves up so much for silly little things like this. At the end of the day, it's just a race. But I mean, drive-through penalty right at the last gasp, that is, if anything though, positive vibes and all that sort of stuff. It just shows how hard Tobias has been pushing for this championship.
Yeah, my heart goes out to Tobias. I thought it was for a pit lane infringement, but in fact it was, you're right. Track limits as our two race leaders go side by side through the chicane. The back marker getting firmly out of the way. Oh! Jordan Sherritt facing the wrong way. Gronvold makes contact with the Lamborghini, pinches him back on the right direction, but Sherritt having some drama with Dennis Schoninger. We saw it at the front of the field as they went side by side and got involved in each other. Gronvold just about gets away with that one, I think, and now hunting at the rear of the field. That is James Baldwin. He reckons he's got a chance not only of a championship, but of an outright race victory as well. All of the excitement has been saved up for the final 13 or 14 minutes of the season, not just the race, and we've got plenty of action still to go.
Oh my goodness, Schoninger and Sherritt came to blows. They had contact on the entry into turn 1 there. We saw Schoninger having to take to the escape road, and then that was a wide for Sherritt there. He ended up looping the car around. Grunwald ran the car into him, and Baldwin must be absolutely rubbing his hands together with glee right now. In fact, if I was him, I'd be backing off. I'd be just letting them fight it out amongst themselves, you know, knock 7 bells out of each other and then just take the race win. Schoninger is pushing way too hard, so is Grunwald in those two Mercedes. I don't know if you can see that, Paul, but the tail end is just way too happy to sort of slide about right now. I have got a really firm feeling that James Baldwin's going to win this race.
Yeah, if I was James Baldwin, I would have pooped out enough bricks to make a nice pretty wall on the front of my drive at this moment in time, because this is really intense stuff. I must say, Jordan Sherritt, very lucky boy indeed to get bounced the right direction by contact from the Mercedes of Tobias Gronvold. There we go. Gronvold going down pit lane now to serve that drive-through penalty and end his season on a real low note. Tobias has done incredible work all year, in particular in this race, and it's tragic to end this championship charge with such an ignominious way as taking the drive-through penalty for track limits. And trust me when I say that will be the loneliest pit world lane in the whole wide world for Tobias Gronvold. But no matter what, a championship may be lost, but the head should very firmly be held high at the end of the season. He's done himself, his team, his sponsors and his fans incredibly proud over the course of this year. But 16th position, a bad way to end the season, and he's got some traffic behind him as well. But Tobias Gronvold, unfortunately, is now out of championship contention.
Jeez, could you imagine if he got stop-go as well for spinning in pit lane during that?
Jeez,
that would have just been that would have been an instant F4. Right, let's keep an eye on this. Now, we're getting a lot of requests to keep an eye on Baldwin, go on board with Baldwin. For me, you're not going to get much entertainment watching on board with Baldwin, because I think he's just controlling his race right now. He's just easing back. We need to keep an eye with Dennis Schoninger right now and Jordan Sherritt. These two, 100%, this is going to end up in tears. One of these two cars, I just have the heartfelt feeling, one of these two cars is not going to finish, and there is no visibility whatsoever from Jordan Sherritt in that Lamborghini. Again, a car that I've got to say has massively transformed. Where has the Lamborghini been in previous seasons? For me, I can't remember it having anywhere near as strong a season as it has had this year.
That second half of the season in particular, it really feels like it's found its pace. But we saw that on board camera there, David. There was no windscreen wipers going. Is that just a foible of the camera system that we're watching this broadcast with? Or is that a fact that Sherritt's just I've heard in my ear that Sherritt's driving on body cam, so for body cam. But anyway, good job from Jordan Sherritt so far in second position. The Lamborghini real turn of pace, and while all this has been happening, we've kind of missed it. But Nils Naujoks has decided that he fancies a piece of this one and is very quickly getting in the conversation as well. So Naujoks, having a quiet race in fifth that's now become fourth, doesn't feel like his day's done yet either, and fancies a chance of sniffing around the podiums.
Yeah, and Baldwin might just let him have that position. I'm not sure. It depends on how much Baldwin wants to keep that third position. He's doing everything he needs to do right now, and Noyox is pushing very, very hard. The thing is that I don't think it'll come to anything, because Noyox isn't the sort of driver that kind of sends it in left, right and centre usually. Although saying that, I do just remember that replay we had where he did try and send it on the first chicane there. So we'll see what happens, but I wouldn't be too worried about it. We've got another time penalty there at 2:27 and 2:15, 15 seconds down in 16 places, all the way down now outside of the top 20, 25th position for Nils Miller.
Right, so let's have a quick look then at the state of play in the silver class of this championship, and surprise, surprise, Dominic Blyer has pulled an absolute blinder out of the hat. Not only is he now leading silver from 5th on the class grid, he's 7th overall in the race, just ahead of Mattia Bonacorsi. So Dominic Blyer, another absolutely sensational performance in the silver category. One of the standout drivers for me of this entire championship, not just the class that he's racing in. And 7th position, there we go, that is Dominic Blyer for Triton Racing. Absolutely sensational drive from him so far. Well on the way to securing a richly deserved silver class victory. Here's Jordan Sherratt throwing his nose to the inside of race leader Dennis Schoninger, and I think you're exactly right there, David. Schoninger goes very, very deep in the chicane. That opens the door for Sherratt. Schoninger closes the door when the car is alongside. Very naughty indeed from Schoninger, and very risky indeed from Dennis Schoninger actually to close the door so firmly on Jordan Sherratt. But what I was just about to say is, David, I think you're right. I think James Baldwin's backing off, fully expected one or both of these cars to be getting up close and personal with the barriers before the checkered flag waves.
You can imagine how frustrated Baldwin's getting as well. He's like, no, you guys just go and do your own thing. I don't want to be anywhere near you. And yet they keep insisting. He's lapping. So's Niles Noyox actually about 0.4 of a second slower than our race leaders right now. So again, just shows you the kind of pace that the two leaders have got, although Mike Noble is actually on pace. I've just noticed that there with our race leaders. He's about 0.1 of a second off of that lead pace. So that Honda doing a grand job as well. So don't discount him from possibly trying to make a move, because he was 0.3 faster than Niles Noyox in front of him on that last lap there. But 5 minutes left to go. This is getting a little bit scary for me, a little bit sketchy.
Yeah, there's plenty of drama to unfold. I will just say though, how nice is it to see a Lamborghini and a Honda right at the sharp end of the field, which is so few times we get to say that, but it's great to see such a variety of different marks all fighting for the big places, and Jordan Sherratt has not given up on this race victory, not by a long stretch.
No, he really, really hasn't. And, you know, look, why would you? That Lamborghini sniffs blood. For me, Schoninger was forced into that mistake in turn 1 by Sherratt just sticking his nose out right at the end. Is he going to try and do that again? The Mercedes there looking very, very unhappy as Kevin Siclari has a drive-through in that 27 there. But that's going to be for track limits almost certainly, as Eamon Murphy gets a penalty as well. But you can see here from Dennis Schoninger and Jordan Sherratt right now from the tail end of one car in the lead and the front of the car in second place here. Look, it might not be for the championship, but these two sure as heck want to win this race.
Oh, absolutely. And as I said at the start of the show, the last race of the season is the one that you want to come good at the most, because you carry that good feeling, you carry that momentum all the way through into the off-season for the start of the next year, and it's what people remember. You're most known for the last race that you competed in. If you're negotiating contracts for teams or for manufacturer drives or for opportunities for the year ahead, to say you're the most recent winner of the Mobileye GT World Challenge Europe Esports Championship race, that goes a long way indeed. That carries a lot of weight, doesn't it?
It really, really does. And, you know, status is pretty much everything when you're at this level here, Paul. You know, it really, really does look good on your virtual racing driver CV to have championships like this, performances like this, and they're going to go on to huge, huge things as a result on the kind of tail end of this championship.
So, What are we looking at on our screens now? On the left-hand side is our second position man, Jordan Sherritt, in the Lamborghini, chasing down race leader Dennis Schoninger. Sherritt doesn't look like he's quite got the pace in that Lamborghini. It looks a little bit livelier if you watch his onboard cameras. You watch him sort of seesawing at the steering wheel. So the Lamborghini doesn't quite have the pace in the final few moments of this race, and it's going to take something spectacular, I think, for Jordan Sherritt to get on terms with our race leader. But Nils Naujoks, meanwhile, 5th position for most of the race, 4th inherited thanks to Tobias Groenewald's drama. All of a sudden, he's got a race on his hands, and if you're James Baldwin, that's the last car you want to see behind you, isn't it?
There's certainly other cars I would prefer to see behind me at that point, mostly, pretty much anyone else. But, I mean, look, at the end of the day, Nils Naujoks still has a chance at winning this race. It's 2 minutes 15, and that does sound outlandish given that the 4 cars are split by about 3.5 seconds. However, it's pouring wet, it's Monza, there are lots of other cars around here, and we've seen one hell of a race so far, so nothing is out of the question right now with just 2 minutes left to go. So I make that, 2 laps left to go?
Yep, something around that mark. 2 more laps to complete a 5-race series started all the way back in April. I can't believe we've got to this point, David, and I can't believe that it's been basically the final 15 minutes of drama is what shook out what will be our final championship finishers.
Yeah, but here we are. And it gets difficult for us as commentators, doesn't it? Because obviously we do our best to build up the context and the storyline around this race. But at heart, we're race fans. So just like everybody else watching at home, we're watching this and we're trying to talk about it. Everybody else watching at home, we're watching this and we're trying to talk about it at the same time. And we're trying to do all the different permutations and all the different calculations. But thankfully, we have our incredible production team behind the scenes giving us updated points. So as of 10 minutes ago, Baldwin still in the lead of the championship by 20 points. So he is looking very, very comfortable out the front of that championship just now. But again, it's a finish. It has to be a finish for Baldwin to secure that.
And that's the thing, isn't it? He's got to finish the race, but he really doesn't have to fight Nils Naujoks. He'll win that podium. He'll want to be in prime position in case these two come together on this final lap. But if Naujoks sends it up the inside, Baldwin will get out of the way, shove the anchors on, and let Nils Naujoks take that position, because championship is what matters. Championship is the prize at the end of the day for sure.
Oh, it's certainly it's a more mature outlook than I would have, because unfortunately I'm simple brain caveman that just tries to put the foot to the floor and try and win every single race on turn 1 regardless. But no, you're absolutely spot on with that. You have to have the view of the bigger picture, and you know, obviously the championship will mean much more to him than the race win here at Monza. But I mean, he'll be very, very happy with that performance. I think third is definitely nothing to scoff at in these conditions. It's been a very, very challenging race, but I think he'll be more delighted with the fact that he has been quite comfortable in winning this championship.
Absolutely, there's still half a lap to go, so there's still time for things to change. But for James Baldwin, has been a champion's drive here at Monza. Stayed out of trouble when he needed to, was fast when it was appropriate, made no mistakes, put himself in no positions to lose that championship. And when everybody lost their head around him, James Baldwin kept his, and has now only got one more corner to go in order to secure the championship. Dennis Schoninger leads the field through the final turn for the last time this season. Dennis Schoninger is about to cross the line and become a race winner for the final race of the Mobileye GT World Challenge Europe Esports Championship. Dennis Schoninger is our race winner from Jordan Sherritt. A flash of the lights to celebrate that success. But the new champion, the 2022 Mobileye GT World Challenge Europe Esports Championship, goes to the one and only James Baldwin. In fine style, Baldwin has a week to remember in the real and virtual world and becomes our newest European champion for Veloce. What a drive, what a driver, and Dominic Blyer crosses the line to take a well-earned silver championship. David, we hoped they'd be deserving champions at the checkered flag, and my goodness, are they deserving champions.
Yeah, they really, really were. Just to finish off about Silver Championship, Robbie Stapleford getting third place in Silver class as well after that incident earlier on with Kevin Siclari there. He'll be happy to damage control that race there. We can see Kamil Pavlovsky here coming across to cross the line. Look, at the end of the day, it's the final race of the championship. The drivers will be delighted that they've done what they could. Some will be unhappy, thinking they could have done more, but for the likes of James Baldwin, look, I mean, what do you say after this weekend, after winning on Saturday night, after having that incredible experience racing at Spa for the 24 and coming on to the back of this and winning the Mobileye GT World Challenge Esports Sprint Championship with Fanatec and taking the championship in one fell swoop? How do you top that?
It's not a bad week, is it? I suppose the boy's done good. But it was such a good drive, though. It's so easy in these conditions, in these scenarios, to overdrive, overcompensate, make mistakes, get wrapped up in somebody else's drama. And as I said in the live comms, he stayed out of trouble when he needed to. He pushed when it was important to push. He consolidated when he needs be. Didn't get wrapped up in the front two drivers squabbling away and knocking 10 bells out of each other. And he just did, quite literally, exactly what he needed to do to take the championship. And actually, David, it ended up being quite a comfortable championship lead at the end, which I think does an injustice to the challenge of the drivers around him. It was just a champion's drive.
Yeah, when you look at the points now, obviously they make it look a lot wider than it actually was. And if it wasn't for that really unlucky drive-through for Tobias Grunwald, it would have been a lot closer. And I think it would have done justice to the championship and the races that we've had here. It's been an incredibly close fight, not just for the pros. I mean, we have to look at the silvers as well. It's been a fantastic effort for Dominic Blyer. He was, if anything, I think he was much more comfortable than the pro battle, because Robbie Stapleford coming into tonight only had, a vague mathematical chance. He had to have all the chips falling in his favour, and they just didn't tonight. But again, in the Monza, this was a remarkably clean race, given the conditions, given the track that it is. It was a good race.
Yeah, absolutely. And the man who had the very best race of all, Dennis Schoninger, race winner in the Mobileye GT World Challenge Europe. Congratulations, man. How does that feel?
Thank you. Completely unexpected. We were just trying to get our other AMG driver, Tobias Grunwald, through it, but unfortunately the plan didn't went that too well. But amazing win, to be honest. I never expected it today.
We saw some really aggressive racing that you had with the Lamborghini of Jordan Sherritt as well. Just talk us through how that feels from the cockpit. It was certainly very dramatic from the commentary box.
Yeah, first of all, we went one lap earlier into the pits than the Lambo, and he came out of the pits nearly side by side with me coming on the track. And we all outbraked ourselves somehow. We don't know why, but somehow happened. And a lap later, going into the first chicane, I felt like I got hit from the Lambo and went to the emergency exit and slowed down drastically. But something happened to the Lambo, I guess, because it was way back. And I slowed down so much that I didn't gain any time. But I don't know what the outcome was there, really.
Well, it was obviously incredibly difficult weather conditions for everybody, and we saw some great side-by-side racing, but I just want you to give us an idea for the folks at home just how difficult it is driving at the speed and the level that you're driving at against a field like this in those conditions.
It's one of the hardest things I've done. Maybe the hardest, I want to say, because of the track evolution, the amount of cars that are racing, the braking points change from lap to lap a bit, and you have to adjust all the time. But it was a great race, lots of fun. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, you did great. So congratulations on the victory. And just finally, last question. Can you tell us a few words about what it's been like to compete in the Mobileye GT World Challenge Europe Sprint Series this year, and for the rivals that you've raced against and the dramas that have unfolded?
To be honest, that is my first race I finished this season. I did 2 others. I had 2 game crashes. And the other ones I was injured on person. So it feels great to end the season with my first race I could finish and with a win. And to drive against that field with those names is just another level.
Well, superb stuff. Congratulations on the victory. Thoroughly enjoyed watching you take it to the checkered flag, and have yourself a well-earned rest now, Dennis. Congratulations, race winner, final round of the Mobileye GT World Challenge Europe Sprint.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dennis. Bye-bye. Great to see. Actually, that's bizarre, isn't it, David? Not had a finish, and then when you finish, you win. That's how you do it.
That's doing it in style, Paul, isn't it? That's how me and you do it whenever we take part in sim races, isn't it? We just, we don't finish a lot of them, but when we do, we win the race, mostly because we've crashed every other car out.
Yeah, that's about right. I'm going to say, you might win the race, I don't. I dominate 14th position, which is exactly where I'd like to be. But no, it's great to see Dennis. And as he was saying, that's interesting. That's the most difficult it's ever been.
And that really has to be kind of taken in context, isn't it? Because these drivers, as we said, time and time again, they drive literally all the time, every single day of the week, every single weekend of the year. They're doing races, they're doing championships. So that means a lot for him to say that was one of his hardest races. Yeah, that is quite the ordeal. And again, it just shows the level of competition of the drivers that we're getting in these championships.
Yep, absolutely. Now, let's have a quick word with Dominic Blyer, who not only has won the Silver Class race, but also in dominant fashion the championship. Dominic, congratulations on the victory and the championship. How do you feel?
Hello, guys, and thank you. Yeah, it feels amazing. Before the race, I was hoping I will land on the top 8, because when I saw the times was a bit too far than 2 whole cars. So yeah, a bit lucky here, but I bring it home safely.
You did a great job, and obviously after qualifying 5th in class with the bad weather that we've got at Monza, it must have been a difficult race for you to stay out of trouble and not get tripped up in the many incidents that we saw on circuit.
Yeah, from the start I was trying to just finish the race and don't do some stupid mistakes, because one penalty can put me at the back. So yeah.
Well, you did a fabulous job all season. In fact, you've been incredibly quick in that Triton race in Bentley Continental. And where does the pace come from? How do you extract that kind of performance week in, week out?
That's a lot of hours spent on the sim and and on this car, of course, setup. Yeah, so Bentley isn't easy car or to go fast, so you need a lot of time to be fast in this car. So, and I last 2 years only driving Bentley. So yeah, that's my car.
Yep, that experience certainly shows. And Dominic, last question. Obviously, you're the new champion of the Silver Class. So, what next for you in your sim racing journey?
Be the champion in the Pro into next year.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. Well, Dominic, you should be very proud of yourself and your team and everybody involved. A legendary season, and it's been an absolute pleasure watching your race. Congratulations once again.
Thank you.
And that's Dominic Blyer, our new silver champion. Look how calm he is, David. I would be going absolutely cock-a-hoop if I win my 8-year-old son at a game of football. I feel delirious, and he's just dominated the world and really calm and cool.
Well, if you think that was an understated reaction, did you see James Baldwin when he crossed the line? There was not a flicker of punching the air or screaming or anything like that. Just cool, calm, collected, Mr. Suave. It's just another day in the bigs. Again, it kind of rubs it in as somewhat a slow, mediocre sim racer myself. To see the reaction like that. Listen, let's not get it wrong whatsoever. They are going to be over the moon. They're going to be screaming on their Discord and celebrating likely over the next couple of days. The first thing that will be getting updated, I think, is the social media handles tonight.
Oh, for sure. And one man that will be delighted is James Baldwin. Is the champion of the Mobileye GT World Challenge Europe Esports Series. James, congratulations, man. What an end to the season.
Thank you very much. I can't believe it. The combination of me and the McLaren, I didn't feel like was the fastest this year. I think the stats will probably say the same. I had one win, but no poles or anything like that. So just consistency won me that, I've got some work to do because obviously I'm not, compared to others, I didn't feel that quick this year, but somehow I've got the championship. I think there's an element of luck in there, don't get me wrong, but yeah, I'm really happy.
Now, for all those plebs at home that are watching you, you've had quite the week.
Yeah.
Tell me what it feels like to be James Baldwin over these last 7 days. It must be insane.
I'm knackered, mate. I'm done. I'm hanging up my gloves. Yeah, it was crazy. Obviously, last week the Spa 24 in real life. It didn't end well, but for me personally, it was good, and unreal experience. Honestly, the toughest thing I've ever done by a mile. And then coming into this, I felt sharp. I just felt a bit tired, and the prep wasn't ideal, but somehow got it over the line. So yeah.
Well, what a great way to cap off what's been an exceptional week. And just talking about the race today, the weather conditions, the fact that obviously your main championship rival was so far down in qualifying, how hard was it to keep the focus on the big picture in this race and stay out of trouble as well?
Hard. It's very hard because obviously there was 4 of us going into this that could have won. I had my teammate Eamon Murphy and Marco Pajic was engineering, and they were helping me, giving me the situation where I needed to be, so Tobias was leading and then I had to be P3, so I kept on pushing because I was P4 to stay in it, and then they had their mistakes and stuff, and yeah, I got fortunate, but I kept myself in the fight to get fortunate, if you see what I mean. So yeah.
I just want to ask you as well, James, because obviously you've been around SRO competition for quite a while now and pretty much won it all as well. A little word about the Mobileye GT World Challenge Series this year, your rivals and the event itself, and what it's like to be part of this big family of esport.
Well, the first thing is that it's insanely competitive. The best of the best of the best on ACC in sim racing in general, are on this grid. Manufacturers take it very seriously as well, showing you how much of a big deal it is. And I know it's competitive in the moment and stuff, but there are some friendships and stuff behind the scenes, and I love it. I mean, I wouldn't come back if I didn't love it, so I'll come back again next season if there's another one as well. It's been great. I've enjoyed this season just as much, if not more, to last season. So
superb to hear. And then final question, what are you going to do to celebrate now? Keep it family friendly.
I'll just grab a beer and chillax, mate. I'm done. I'm going to sleep for the next few days, I think, and back on it in a few weeks.
Well deserved, James Baldwin. Congratulations, sir. You are the Mobileye GT World Challenge Europe Esports Sprint Series champion for 2022. Congratulations once again.
Thank you very much, guys. Cheers.
Brilliant. Cheers, James. And there we go. What sickens me, David, is not only is he a very fast driver in real and virtual, he's also an annoyingly nice guy. So there's no reason I want to hate him because I'm jealous, but I don't, because he's a really, really grounded, nice bloke as well, isn't he?
Yeah, so friendly, down to earth, and what I love as well is the fact that he wins all these competitions, he wins all these prizes and stuff like that. I'm actually getting to the point where I think that James Baldwin could actually open his own branch of the a UK Fanatec store with all the equipment that he's got now.
Yeah, probably about right. And well deserved as well, because he has been a dominant force. And I suppose it's now just time for us to say thank you to everybody watching at home. Thank you to Mobileye, Fanatec, AWS, Pirelli, AK Esports, SimGrid, SRO, Assetto Corsa Competizione, and each and every one of the people, teams, brands that are associated with this championship for putting on a great year, David. It's been legendary.
It's been absolutely fantastic. It's been brilliant to be part of this towards the end of the season as well. A huge thank you to all of our partners, as you said. Big shout out as well to Gary Paravani, who does those amazing, I know I keep going on about this, but those ridiculously beautiful photos that we get on social media as well. Paul, and to yourself and to David Addison for keeping us through the season. I've just been keeping the seat warm for David tonight, and it's been fantastic to be part of it.
Yep, it really has. And just one final thing before we end. I am 1 centimetre taller than Gary Paviani, regardless of what he has to say about it. So on that bombshell, thank you all so much for watching. And from David and myself, we look forward to seeing you next time. Take care. Thanks for being on this journey with us. And bye-bye.